is the CIA Contagious Influencers of America from the producers of Keep the Faith, the #1 inspirational show in all of America and in Canada. As a matter of fact, we're on some 148,000 hours a year now, all across America and in Canada. And we have you to thank for that. So thank you so much. Although I will tell you this, we never ask for your support. Never. We don't take donations. And I think that's one reason that you like listening to us, because we don't ask for money. And how do we do this? Well, we do this simply because we go out and do it the old-fashioned way. We get advertiser support. So thank you very much. Please give your money to all the great ministries out there. And I've got one right here. That you should really bless, because the guy that I'm going to have on here, he is blessed. He is a man of God. He is a great storyteller. He's a great author. He's a great inspiring motivator. And I'm talking about my good friend, Rabbi Jason Sobel. Now, I must tell you, I got to tell you that I taped this just a couple of days before the brutal attack by Hamas on Israel. And so I'm re-recording the open of the podcast because the original opening was not appropriate, obviously. So, but I've decided to go ahead and play this interview with Rabbi because he has this phenomenal book out that he's come up with. And in all fairness to him, and in all fairness to you, I wanted to bring you this podcast. So please, I know that you're praying for the folks over there in the Middle East. Our prayers are especially with those in Israel and those who have given so much, and to those who are going through such a difficult time right now there in the Middle East. So we have you in our prayers, and we want you to know that we know that God has your back. Okay, so I know it's difficult to talk about, but I've got the guy right here who has he's such a blessing. As a matter of fact, when the attack took place, and many nights thereafter, he would have a nightly prayer for a good half hour, an hour on social media, because he knows how the world is hurting over this. And so if you get a chance, do check out Rabbi Jason Sobel's social media. I know that you will be blessed. And if you're looking for a miracle, this is the episode that you're going to want to watch, because he has a new book out now that is all about miracles and the miracles of Jesus. So if you are someone who is desperate for a miracle right now, or maybe you know someone who needs a miracle, this is the episode. Think about it. Water into wine? I mean, seriously, Jesus can turn the ordinary into extraordinary. Your ordinary into your extraordinary. He's the miracle maker. Then you've got multiplying loaves of fish. I mean, think about that. He wants to bless you abundantly so that you can bless others, so that you can share those miracles, so you can share that a ripple effect of love. And there's so much more, but Jason covers so much of this in his book. It's called Signs and Secrets of the Messiah, a fresh look at the miracles of Jesus. And it's a follow-up to his best-selling book, Mysteries of the Messiah. So we're going to have Rabbi Jason Sobel on here in just a second. But first, you know what? Please just, I know the pain right now that so many are going through. I know I've had to turn off the news. Hey, the truth, it's just a nonstop. But I can't wait to have a rabbi on here in just a minute, because he is just he's just so full of love, and he's so full of compassion, and so full of just wonder. And when you start talking about the miracles of Jesus, you can see how it's so all of it's so worth it. Just this journey, even when it's hard. So we're gonna have Rabbi Jason on here in just a second. But first, let's go to this message, and then I'll be back with my friend Rabbi Jason Sobel.
Hi, I'm Jackie Dorman. Are you longing for your soulmate? And maybe you've tried everything and you feel like nothing's working. You've done the online dating, the singles ministry, possibly even the dreaded blind dates set up by well-meaning family and friends. And you're starting to wonder, where are the truly Christian men that want to seek me out for a committed, loving relationship without the head games? Well, I'm here to help. I want you to join me for my free Married in 12 Months challenge, where I'm going to show you all the tools you need to step into the love story that God has already written about you. I'm going to teach you about why now is your time, why God wants you married even more than you want to be married, what are the lies that are holding you back, the law of attraction that's biblical, and what are the tools to stepping into that bride that you want to become. So join me at lovestories.com for my free Married in 12 Months challenge, where we'll get you out of the waiting room and into the love story that you've been dreaming of. Join me at lovestories.com. I hope to see you there.
Hey, Rabbi, how you doing, man?
Shalom. It's great to be back with you. Always love being with you.
Looking good, my friend. And I see you have your new book behind you.
Absolutely. We're excited about it.
So, I always love talking to you because you always just mesmerize me with things that, you connect dots from the Bible that are just so uncanny. So I'm just going to start out with give me something from your book. Give me a sign or a secret that I've never heard of that's just going to blow my mind and going to blow our listeners' mind.
All right, I'll do my best here. Obviously one of the reasons why we wrote Signs and Secrets is because we want people to see the life and the ministry of Jesus in high definition. And one of my favorite signs is the sign of the healing at the pool of Bethesda. It's one of my favorite places to go when we take people to Israel. There's a man in the story who has been unable to walk. He's been an invalid for 38 years. And Jesus approaches him and he says, "Do you want to be made well?" Which seems like an odd question, right? Like, duh, of course I'd want to be made well, right? But what we found is that people who have had trauma in their life for so long, oftentimes it begins to shape their identity. And it's hard to move past that hurt or that sickness that they've experienced. So every detail is there for a reason, and that connects in. Why 38 years? Well, what's interesting is that 38, according to Deuteronomy 2:14, is actually the number of years that Israel wandered in the wilderness. They were there for 40, but in the second year, they disobeyed God when he said, "Go in and take the land." And because they didn't want to go, they wandered in the wilderness, that generation, 38 years. So 38 years is the number of the wandering in the wilderness. And then Hebrew is alphanumeric. So why is that significant? You write letters with numbers in Hebrew. So 38 is the numerical value of his heart in Hebrew. So Yeshua was testing this man to see what was in his heart. Did he really want to be made well? And what Yeshua was saying to him is, listen, you have a choice. You could be like the generation that came out of Egypt that remained stuck in their slave mentality, or you can have faith in me and believe me, and I will heal you and make you whole, and you will be able to get up and walk into the promise of your future. He was trying to break the hopelessness in this man's heart and let him know that he didn't need to remain stuck, that his future can be better than his past.
So why is there such a significance in numbers in the Bible? And by the way, is there a numbers guide someplace I can just look at and say 2 means this, 4 means that? Because you have all this down and you connect all these dots, but why is there such a significance in numbers?
No, I think that's a good point. I mean, first, I want to say in this case that if there's a detail in the Bible, it's there for a reason. So God doesn't waste words. So if it says he's there for 38 years, there's a significance to why it says 38. So we have to be like detectives and say, man, if there's something here, there's a reason for that. So for example, like 6 stone pots. Why did Jesus do the first miracle we talk about in the book with 6 stone pots? Why not 7 stone pots? Well, man was created on the 6th day. In Jewish thought, he fell on the 6th day. Jesus died on Good Friday, which is the 6th day on the biblical calendar. So the same day that man was created and fell, Jesus died on the cross to undo the fall, to reverse the curse and restore the blessing. So the first miracle he does is with 6 stone pots, because Jesus is saying, I'm restoring the abundance that was lost as a result of the fall. There's going to be fruitfulness again for those who believe in me. So the details are there for a reason, but specifically why numbers are important is because think about it. We live in a mathematical universe, right? I mean, if you want to understand the quantum physics, if you want to understand physics, it's all about numbers. Even music is about numbers. Even music is mathematical. So if we live in a mathematical universe, then obviously if numbers are important in the physical world, then numbers should be important in the spiritual world as well. They're just another way that God uses to point to him and how he weaves everything together, that he's the ultimate creator and architect.
So if you were to take that biblical view in science, so to speak, and you were to let's say be in a forward-thinking mode, okay? Have you ever done that?
Yeah, well, think about it like this, right? If significance of what we're saying here, the fact that Hebrew, which is the Old Testament, is written, it was the language of Jesus. It was the language that he communicated in Hebrew and Aramaic. The New Testament is written in Greek. Both Hebrew and Greek, both those languages are alphanumeric. So God chose languages that were alphanumeric, meaning that numbers and letters are interchangeable. That means that in the Hebrew Bible, there are no Roman numerals. If I want to say open to chapter 1, I'd say open to chapter Aleph, which is the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet, has a numerical value 1. But think about this scientifically. An academic reads the Bible, and they're probably like, oh, Genesis 1, God spoke the world into existence. They can't get their head around that. They're like, well, they're just ancients. They didn't understand. It's an archaic, outdated way of thinking. When you understand that letters and numbers are interchangeable and God creates heaven and earth, what he was doing is that the spiritual world is held together by his word. The physical world, when God speaks the world into existence, has numbers behind it. What God was doing is literally coding creation when he speaks the world into existence. When you look at a computer code, there's letters and numbers. So there's no conflict with science. When God spoke the world into existence, he was literally creating the mathematical structure of creation as well as the spiritual structure of creation. He was coding the world into existence. If you look at it from that perspective, then you could even say that what is sin? Sin is a virus in the system that causes it to crash. And the virus needs to be removed. Just like your computer can't function if there's a virus on it, right? We need to remove the virus from the system. That is sin, and that's what Jesus comes to do.
Wow, bang. That's great. Fantastic. So let's talk about miracles. Let's talk about some of the miracles and some of the miracles that you cover. And I mean, the obvious one is why did Jesus turn the water into wine? And what's the significance? Wasn't that the first miracle?
Absolutely. John chapter 2, the first miracle. Obviously, firsts are important. So if he does that as the first miracle, there has to be a reason, because everything Jesus does is intentional. There's nothing random, okay? Just like Einstein said, God doesn't play dice with the universe. Jesus doesn't just play dice with his ministry, what he came to do. And so think about it for a moment. One of the major overarching themes of the promise of the Redeemer, the Savior, the Messiah, was going to be that he was going to be a greater than Moses. As it was with the first Moses, so will it be with the second Moses, according to the Bible, right? So when Moses came to redeem the children of Israel out of Egypt, what's the first miracle he did? He turned the water into blood. But Jesus came as the greater than Moses and turned the water not into blood, he turned it into wine. Why? Because he came that we have life and have it more abundantly. And what's the sign of the abundance of the Messianic kingdom? The mountains will flow with new wine. It's a symbol of sweetness and blessing and overflow. And what he's declaring is, I'm the greater than Moses. I'm here. The kingdom has begun. And you can have a foretaste. One of the reasons why he does it at a wedding is because it all begins at a wedding in John chapter 2, because it's all going to culminate in a wedding, the marriage supper of the Lamb in the Messianic kingdom. And he's giving us a sneak preview. He's giving us a foretaste of what is to come. And he says to us, we have to understand is that each one of these miracles have a promise for our life, right? And part of the miracle of the promise of the water into wine is God saying, listen, you don't have to live out of the lack because I want you to live out of the overflow.
So tell me about, from everything you've learned and all the research you've done, all the studies you've done, I think these days we really discount the miracles that God puts before us. And I mean, they're all around us. As far as I'm, just the fact that I'm talking to you like this, via our phones, that could be considered a miracle, right? But why is there such little emphasis these days on miracles? Why do we discount the miracles that we see before us? And are these? Would you consider these true miracles, or is this just the way it is? The world's grown up, and we've evolved, and we have all these wonderful medical marvels and things that happen to us that 100, 200 years ago they would have absolutely been considered a miracle.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that we live in a time and season in history where, as you're saying, there's great technological advancements there. We don't, for the most part, people are not starving. They're not worried about the ability to get their sustenance. As you're saying, there's medical intervention that has been able to prolong life. There's the ability to, know what's going on around the world. Things that people thought were mysteries, there are found scientific explanations for. We live in a very humanistic, rationalistic culture in which faith is not, faith is declining in our nation. Faith is declining in our world. And so I think that's really unfortunate, because I think, now more than ever, we need God's intervention in our world. We need the supernatural. We need the miraculous. And, one of the interesting things that I think, connects into this, we talk about the sign and secret of wholeness. And we talk about Jesus healing the royal official's son in Cana. This is his second miracle that he performed in the book of John. And this man comes to him and he says, my son is sick. Well, what's interesting is that the Hebrew word for sick is the word chole. If you're in Israel and you go to the hospital, you go to the Beit Holim. It comes from the Hebrew word hol. The Hebrew word hol for sickness literally means to bore out or to make hollow. And so sickness results from a biblical perspective when there's a hole in us, when there's something that should be there that's missing, it creates a vacuum and unhealthy things come in and fill that space. whether that's on a physical level or an emotional level, when people try and fill that hole in their souls with drugs or food or money or unhealthy relationships, right? So healing comes first and foremost when we invite God back in. And that begins the healing process, filling that vacuum, filling that space, right? But one other thing that's interesting is that the word for secular shares the same root for sickness. So when you take God out of your life or God out of the culture, right, what do you end up with? You end up with a secular, sick culture where people start believing, and it's what you see going on in the world around us, increase of murder, increase of racism, increase of sexual abuse and crimes and human trafficking. This is all because we've taken God out. Society is sick. People are sick. Wholeness comes when we invite God back in to fill our lives and to fill our space.
Tell me about a time that you personally went through this, you experienced it, and got to the other side of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, before I even get into a personal story, one time, and we share this in the book, where I was talking with God. I was going through a rough season in my life. I mean, I was doing ministry, but there were some people that had kind of stabbed me in the back, and people that I thought were close to me, that were friends, that turned out not to be friends, but haters in the end, and it really, really hurt me. And, because I'd poured so much into these relationships, and I thought these are some of my best friends, some of my closest friends. What the heck, right? How could they do this to me? And God spoke to me, and he said, one of the things he said to me, he said, holy, holy, holy. And it wasn't like Holy, it was Holey, Holy, Wholley. And God said to me, he says, Jason, everyone has holes in their souls. Everyone has those places where they've been hurt that's created a hole within them. And as soon as you touch that hole in someone, they're going to react in ways, they're going to lash out at you. And it's not going to be pretty. So, but I want to take you from holy, having holes in your soul, to Holy, to becoming conformed to the image of Yeshua through my love, and ultimately making you whole in him. And he began to do that work in me, and I was told the story of a friend of mine who was bringing soccer balls to Africa to make peace through playing. And actually Sting was involved, the musician. And they created these soccer balls that if you stuck a hole in it, it wouldn't deflate, but it would reinflate. And there's a wholeness in God that even when people do things that pierce us with their words or pierce us with their unkind actions, and yes, I'm not minimizing the fact that it hurts, that the pain is real, that it doesn't deflate us some, but through the love of God, and when we stick close to him, God causes us to reinflate, and it changes our life.
Wow. The when you decide to do, how many books have you done now? You've done.
Oh my God!
I know
this is building off. The first one we did it with Kathy Lee, Rock Road Rabbi.
Right.
Then we did Histories of the Messiah. Aligning with God's appointed time, The God of the Way with Kathy Lee, Breakthrough, and this is the 6th book.
When you decide to do these books, because it takes a lot to write, just like it takes a lot to make a film, and I know you're doing that too now. But when you decide to do a book, how do you know that this is what God wants you to do? How do you know that this is the way that you're supposed to spend the next several months or a year or two of your life? Penning something like this, how do you know that you have that particular calling?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that I've learned is because, at first and foremost, I was a speaker, led congregations, but I realized that if you really want to make a lasting impact and fulfill Yeshua's words of the Great Commission to make disciples and help people grow in their faith, you have to give people tools. You have to be able to put something in people's hands that they can use to grow in their own time, at their own pace, at their own speed, that can meet them where they're at, wherever they're at. Because it's the reason why you do radio. You can only be and podcasts. You can only be in so many places so much of the time. But if you can create something that's always available to people, then it has the reach and the longevity for God, for the kingdom is huge. And then on top of that, I only want to write about those things that have changed my life. God, those things have to speak to me before I'm ever going to share that, with someone else.
That's good. That's good. So in putting together this particular book, what was the biggest discovery you made in with the signs and the secrets? What was the number one thing that astonished you? Because I have a hard time thinking that you'd be astonished by anything, because you're always astonishing me. It's like you're you've always got something to shock me with that's in the Bible. But what actually shocked you in putting this book together?
One of my favorite chapters, one of my favorite miracles is the signs and secrets of the great catch. John 21, the disciples are fishing all night and they catch nothing. They're initially fishing in the dark, which it's common to fish in the dark in Israel, but there's also, I think, a deeper lesson there, is that the word for fish, same word for fear. When you fish from a place of fear, your nets are going to be left to you empty. And I think there's so many people that are struggling with fear and anxiety in this day and time. And that fear and anxiety robs us of having the fullness of the nets, whether it's relationally with other people, whether it's the fullness of the emotional shalom, peace, and, well-being, whether it's financial, because we're fearful to take a step and do something that could help us go to the next level professionally, okay? And Yeshua steps into that situation. He says, cast the net again on the right side of the boat. Well, the left side represents judgment in Jewish thought. It represents severity. The right side symbolizes God's love and his loving kindness, right? And so when we fish from a place of fear or judgment, our lives and our nets, our relationships are left empty. But when we fish from a place of God's love and know his love and show that love to other people, then our nets are full, because perfect love casts out all fear, right? And so we got to live from the right, not from the left. That's not a political statement, but from abiding in his love and abiding in his word. And then 153 fish. Well, why 153 fish? One of the things that I learned as I was preparing for this book is that the depth of meaning behind the number 153. One of the things 153 equals in Hebrew phrases, Ani Elohim, I am God in Hebrew, equals 153. Ani Adonai Elohecha, I am the Lord your God, your Redeemer, equals 153. King of glory equals 153. So Yeshua, having them catch 153 fish, he was showing his power over creation, that he's God, that he's the Redeemer, that he's the King of glory. And because he created everything that is, we never have to worry, because he is going to provide for us. 153 is B'nai Elohim, sons of God. When we by faith believe in Jesus, we become sons of God when we believe in the King of glory, and we're children of the King, and therefore we don't have to live in fear or anxiety. We've got a good Father, a good Savior who's going to provide for us.
Then again, you always amaze me with your findings, and I'm just wondering, because I consider you to be the real life AI guy. Have you ever put some of your findings, some of your thoughts into Chat GPT and see what it spits out back at you?
No. Yeah, it would be a good idea, though. It'd be worth that.
It'd be fun. You ought to take a chapter of your book, just put it in there and just see what it comes back. And I want to know.
No, I love it. I love it. It's a great idea. Be fun.
It's all Rabbi Jason. It's always great catching up with you. You're one of my favorite guests, one of my favorite people.
And I just want to encourage everyone. Look, we wrote Signs and Secrets of the Messiah. We want people to have hope. Your future is going to be better than your past. We want you to see the Bible in high definition. But in the last chapter of the book, we talk about how these signs and secrets are not just something God did in the past. It's something He wants to do again in your life. And he says, greater things than these you will do. He wants you to be able to walk in His supernatural presence, in His supernatural power, to not just bring healing and wholeness to your life, but to bring healing and wholeness to a broken and hurting world. God wants to use you and empower you. And I believe this book will help build the faith for you to be able to move into that in greater measure.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, my friend. Great catching up with you.
Oh, it's always good seeing you. And thank you for all that you're doing. I mean, your reach and impact is continuing to grow and expand, and it's a joy to see.
Love you, my friend.
I love you too. God bless.
Thanks again, Rabbi Sobel. Thank you for this amazing time that we had to spend with one another. We are praying for you. We are praying for your family. We're praying for the people of Israel, people of the Middle East. And folks, I'm praying for you because I know this is a really, really difficult time for so many people right now, especially our Jewish friends across America. So we're praying for all of you. This has been CIA Contagious Influencers of America. Please do go out and buy Rabbi Jason Sobel's book. It's called Signs and Secrets of the Messiah, and it's available right now. And please also do rate and review us. Give us 5 stars. I would greatly appreciate that. And do check out KeepTheFaith.com. We're going to find all kinds of great episodes, and also KeepTheFaith.com, our radio show website. I'm David Sams, and as I always say, please do go out there and live that life in living color this week, because it sure is a heck of a lot more interesting than living in black and white. Love you all.